Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bonnie McMahon with Evosys Newbury. We're going to be getting started momentarily. Meanwhile, please note you are on mute by design. So if you do have any questions, please use the question icon on your toolbar, and we'll take those as they come in. And we'll get started here momentarily. We still have quite a few people logging in currently. Welcome, everyone. We're going to be getting started here momentarily. Please note you are on mute by design. We have quite a number of people on the line today. If you do have any questions, please use your question icon on your toolbar, and we'll take those questions as they come in. And we have quite a few people, like I said previously, still in the process of logging in. So we're going to be getting started here probably in another 2 minutes. Well, this is exciting. So I still see a ton of people logging in. So we have quite a few people on the line today. We're giving everyone just a minute or two to log in, and then we're going to get started. As I said, you are on mute, so to try to eliminate a lot of that background noise, we'll be getting started here shortly. If you do have a question, please use the question icon on your toolbar, and we'll take those questions as they come in. So probably just another minute, and then we'll get started. Thank you. Okay, I think we've got critical mass here, so we're going to get started. I first want to thank you all for joining us. I know many of you may be on your lunch break or watching as you finish out the afternoon here. Again, we're going to be discussing today the Oracle HCM Cloud and Learning. My slide's not moving, I apologize. My name is Bonnie McMahon, and I am the VP of Sales in North America here, working in the HCM and ERP cloud. And here are our top 4 things we're going to be covering today for you. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Evosys. Some of you on the line actually know us as Newbury. We were acquired by Evosys, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to be talking to you about cloud HCM that Oracle offers, and we're going to do a deep dive into the learning module that Oracle offers, as well as talk about some of the services we provide around these and answer any questions you may have. Your presenters today, again, my name is Bonnie. I'm kind of the host or hostess here. Today, your presenters will be Sarah Bragg. I think many of you are familiar with Sarah if you were a Newbury customer previously. She is the director of the TBE practice and heads up also our pre-sale consulting team here in North America. She's got 14 years of experience in HR. You'll find as she has adopted some of these cloud modules, she's got a lot of her HR experience to put towards the modules to help you have a better, more successful implementation. She's also a board member up there in Canada of her local HR group and serves as a board member on OHUG. Our second presenter, and I know many of you on the line today are familiar with Mr. Dave Livengood. He's got over 30 years of experience in the adult education market. Specifically, a lot of those years were spent on LMS and the Oracle Taleo Learn tools. He now actually helps us implement and advise clients on the Oracle Learning Cloud. And as you guys may know, he was a former client himself. And I did fail to mention that about Sarah as well. So Sarah and Dave both were clients of Oracle in the past, and they both have great experience implementing this tool, not only from a consulting standpoint, but a client standpoint as well. So we like that a lot about what they're able to offer our clients. So let's talk about a little bit about Evosys Newbury. Currently, as you guys know, Newbury was specialized in the Taleo product set. We were acquired by Evosys about almost a year ago now, and we've combined to have about approximately 1,100 global customers. 950 of those customers are actually cloud customers, and we operate in 30 countries around the world with over 1,000 consultants, and we actually do all pillars of Oracle Cloud, including ERP and EPM, which for those of you who are not familiar with the acronyms, those are pretty much your finance and like Hyperion modules. And you can see below we've achieved several prestigious awards from Oracle as well. Here's a little slide that summarizes our experience and where a lot of our projects have come from. So very proud of this team. But for today, we're going to focus on our HCM implementations. And you can see we've actually implemented all modules across the country and across the world of Oracle Cloud. One thing you should know about Evosys is that we actually, you can see how our consultants have grown most recently over the years, but it's so important to focus over here on this area because our consultants not only bring the software expertise, but oftentimes they are actual experts in their field, whether they're chartered accountants or hold an MBA. Our consulting experience runs very deep, and we have very, very good knowledge of not only the software, but of business process as well. So we provide all of the services as usual as any consultancy: implementation, managed services, support, rollouts, upgrades, etc. If you can think of it, we can do it. So I thought this was a good slide to show. This is Oracle HCM Cloud, and this is what is included across all the modules of Oracle HCM. You can see they're broken down into workforce deployment and then workforce development, right? And I've highlighted the areas here today. We're going to focus on the core human resources module as well as the learning management module that is included in HCM. But the complete Oracle HCM Cloud includes modules to help you with whatever HR issue you're having to date. Okay. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Livengood now. And Dave, I'll go ahead and just leave it here and guide these slides for you until the demo. And Dave Livengood, please take the stage.
All right, thanks, Bonnie. Hi, folks. How y'all doing today? Hope it's a little bit nicer weather where you're at than where I'm at. It's just kind of gloomy and overcast. Okay, so we're going to talk about learn versus learning. Every now and again, my tongue gets tangled, and I'll say one or the other and mean the other. But bear in mind, if I'm saying learn, I'm talking about Taleo Learn, the older version. If I'm talking about learning, then I'm talking about OLC or HCM learning module. Hopefully, I won't get you all too confused with that terminology today. All right, so let's talk about what Learn does, or actually what both of them do. They're both learning management systems, obviously. So you'd say, well, that's good. That's a good starting point. They do very much the same thing. However, the functionality is different between the two tools. After years and years of working with Taleo Learn, for me to get in there the first few times I get into learning, I found myself quite confused, having a very consolidated system administrator panel in Taleo Learn, where it wasn't quite as concise and focused in learning. Come to find out, I was just making it harder on myself than it really needed to be. But let's talk about some of the functionality comparisons. So Taleo Learn is really geared very well and is developed to be very good for structured learning. So if you find yourself doing a lot of compliance training, regulatory training, organizational mandated training, it's a great tool. Learning, on the other hand, is geared more towards social learning. And when I say social learning, what I'm talking about is where the supervisors can go in there and suggest training to their employees. You have the option to recommend training. You can make training required, meaning it's something that somebody has to take. And then, like in Learn, you have the option to self-select or volunteer for training in the learning environment. As far as social learning goes, another element that you have available in learning that you don't see in Learn is the ability, even for end users, to go in there and create a tutorial or content and then be able to share it out to other people within the organization. So that's kind of where the social learning comes in. Of course, there's the ability to go in there and rank and rate content as to the how valid it is or how accurate it is, how good it is, so on and so forth. Okay. If you look at creation of content in Learn, it primarily falls back to the an administrator, a learning administrator. So that's kind of the variable there. Um, in Learn, the administrator's responsibilities are expansive and perpetual, meaning you set it up, you manage it, you baby it. If you're a Learn administrator, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a day-to-day tool. It's there's always something going on. You have to go in and adjust, tweak, or whatever. Learning tends to be a little bit less administrator burdensome, if you will, for lack of better terms, where once you get the system set up, I won't say it's self-sustaining, but it's much more self-sustaining than what the original version of Taleo Learn is. Standalone application, Taleo Learn, if you're using, if maybe you've got ADP or God knows any other HRIS systems, you can purchase Taleo Learn and set it up and run it standalone. So it was not dependent upon any other application. It was its own product. Learning is dependent upon HCM, so you have to either implement HCM Core or HCM Talent Management. The beauty of that is when you do set that up, that employee data that you include with HCM Core or HCM Talent Management is all part of that cloud that comes over with learning. Those folks that have Taleo Learn, if you wanted an automated employee data feed coming into your learning management system, it was an expensive endeavor early on and got to be quite it was quite a challenge. It wasn't something you could do yourself. Okay. Bonnie, you want to go to the next slide, please? Okay. So what I've tried to do is do this an apple-to-apple comparison as far as functionality goes. You'll see as we look down this list, you've got online courses. They both support AICC and SCORM. Tin Can is still out there if you're, or XAPI, depending on what term you're used to using. Not supported in either one as of right now. ILT and VILT, both supported in Learning and Learn. Waitlisting is available. auto assignments. Now, the way they're managed in Learn is significantly different than the way they're managed in Learning, but you do nonetheless have that functionality. Manual assignment of training, self-selection of training, training approval, again, available in both products. Bonnie, if you would, please. All right. Prerequisites for folks that need that. Recurrent training with renewal notifications. They're both handled in the same or they're handled differently, but the functionality is there. You do have a My Team functionality of sorts in both products. Transcripts are available in both products. Certificates of completions, reporting, and responsive user interface. And by responsive, what I mean is it's scalable, meaning if you're on a mobile device or if you're on a desktop, the user interface can be configured to adjust accordingly. Now, Learn is a little bit more complicated process depending on what you're using for your authoring tool. Learning, it is inherent into the product itself. Reporting, that's okay. Okay, thanks, Bonnie. Reporting, they're completely different reporting tools between Learn and Learning. For folks who've ever gone in and tried to build a custom report in Learn, if you're not accustomed to SQL programming or building reports using SQL calls, you probably find it at the very least frustrating to try to build that report if you needed to do anything like that. Learning is a much more of a GUI interface for you to drag the components onto the screen that you want to include in that report. It's a very, very extensive list, so it can be a little bit time consuming to build them out until you get in there and figure out where the values are at that you commonly use. But nonetheless, to build a custom report is significantly quicker in Learning than it was in Learn, and again, unless you had that SQL background. Okay, Bonnie, I'm sorry. We'll go back to the one you were ahead of me on. Both products do support e-commerce. Bear in mind the Learning version is still a little bit new. It's still a pretty young product, so it's still evolving over time. You both have assessment authoring tools where you can create assessments or surveys. You have course authoring tools. The content types that are supported are available are PDF, Microsoft Office, links to websites. Bonnie, if you'll jump to that next one, I think that list continues, and video. Now, the difference between the Learning and Learned video links is the Learn Center video link, you pretty much had to wrap it inside of a course, and that was going to be usually created through the course authoring tool or the classic course developer tool. In order to be able to assign it to a user and track it, of course, there was a little bit of fallacy that went with that because once users figured out they could skip to the end of the video and go to the next slide, they got credit whether they watched the full video. In Learning, however, the product is smart enough to say, okay, this video is 15 minutes and 37 seconds, and it will not give the user a completed status until they have viewed that video in its entirety. All right. Resource library. Learn has its own dedicated resource library. You're not going to see that functionality in Learning. Don't worry, you can still upload your PDF files and your logos and stuff like that to Learning, but the variance is the way you access them, who can get to them, and everything else. It's just more of a closed system in Learning, more so than it was in Learns. Bulk loaders. There are bulk loaders available in both. Again, functionality varies a little bit, but the concept is still there. E-signatures are not currently supported in Learning, so if that's a requirement for you, make sure you do a little bit of exploration for that before you make that transition or decide to make that transition to Learning. External training is supported in both products. External training resource management, what that is, and I know it kind of conflicts with the above, but let's say you work with vendors to come in and conduct your training. Maybe you bring somebody in to teach a class on a recurrent basis. With Learning, you have the ability to contain or retain that information, that client information, that vendor information, and store it with your courses or your ILT, whereas you do not have that functionality in Learn. And then offline training, what the heck do I mean by offline training? With offline training, what I'm talking about is to download a SCORM course onto your mobile device, be disconnected from the internet, be able to complete that training, that SCORM course, and then when you reconnect to the internet, it will upload your training results back to the learning management system. That was a function that has been asked for years and years with Learn. They never quite got it there, but with Learning, that is an inherent with the 18B release. Okay, Bonnie, go ahead and jump, please. Okay, let's start our demo.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and give control over to Miss Sarah, and Sarah is going to give you a brief overview of the HCM Core functionality. And what we talk about, that you'll hear the word core, or maybe also referred to as HRIS, or as I like to keep it simple, your system of record for HR. It's very simple. So I want to take this minute to remind everybody, if you do have a question, use the question icon on your toolbar, and we'll be taking those as they come in. And sometimes I'll actually interrupt Sarah because I feel like the question is that important. Everyone must have it. So Miss Sarah, please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. You can hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, perfect. And my screen, you can see the wonderful Matt Wagner here?
Yes. Who's Matt Wagner, Sarah?
Perfect. So everyone, for some of you might not have seen the product, but this is a landing page within the HCM product, and you'll see how nice and easy it is from a navigation perspective. And also, too, if your organization is currently implementing different functionality from an accessibility standpoint. As you can see here, if someone has possibly a disability with vision, low vision, the nice contrast here of coloring is all available, and that's part of the HCM platform as well. So depending on your role that you have in your organization, that's going to showcase what you have available to you. So just some high level here, obviously this little home thing is always like your home. So if you ever need to get back to this home page with your various icons here, never fail. You can just click that home and that's going to drive you back there. This little star here is going to show you any of your favorites or recent items. So as your system matures with the data or as you implement the various modules in here, it's nice and simple to get to your favorite items or your recent items. So you don't have to drill down on a granular level through each of these icons. This little flag here is just going to give you a watch list of different things that you're watching. And this little bell here is going to give you any notifications. So again, later on, we're going to be doing a webcast on the talent management aspect of it. So just some examples just on the talent management side is when someone submits a goal for your approval, et cetera, that would show up as a notification that you need to take action. So if we go over onto this side of the screen where we see this logo here for this company, and also the system is brandable. So you can have your own images in here, et cetera, so that when an employee or a manager or an HR specialist logs in, it's going to be your organizational branding that they see. If I click on these little hamburger menu or this little navigator here, that's going to display everything that I have access to. And not only am I just an employee in this system because of my role, I also can see my team and everything that I'm responsible for or have access. So like Bonnie mentioned, this system is full of different modules that you can implement at your discretion when you're ready to roll it out for your organization. So it's not to say everything has to be done at once. It's just as your organization is evolving and purchasing the different modules to implement it. So for today, what we're going to talk about is we can click on this personal information, and that's going to drill me down to my personal information as an employee. However, if I wanted to get to it, all I have to do here is just click the me. So again, everybody learns differently. Everybody uses the system differently. So with the ease and use of the system, everybody can have their own way to view different things and get to things easily. So I click on the me, and I can click on my personal information. When I click on the personal information, different sub boxes or sub options that I have access to from an employee's perspective that I can take action on. So I can really easily click on my personal details. I can see my personal details here. Depending on the configuration that you've done throughout your implementation, that will showcase what an employee has access to make changes. Now, beautiful because it's one platform. If I make a change here because I've got access to this pencil, that's going to roll over into the learning module that Dave's going to talk about, right? So we don't have to worry about any more integrations. That feeds over because it's one platform and seamless. Same idea for my demographic information and also too for my date of birth, etc. So this is all decided upon with your implementation consultant when you start to implement the various modules. But this is mainly based upon the core, what you would implement in order to get your learning up and running. If we want to go back to the screen prior, we just click that little arrow and it's going to go back to our home menu, and we can click on these other boxes here to get to the various pieces of information. One other cool thing that's going to solve a lot of problems that I hear, and even in my own organization that I worked, we can never get to that org chart. That was always a challenge, right? We always used to do it in PowerPoint, or some people have done it in Word, Excel. With this system, when you set up your core, if we go to this navigator and we click on this directory, we can really easily see my org chart, or I can see my public info, or I can actually search for someone to get to them. So I can learn more about other individuals in my organization, maybe on my team because I'm a new manager. So if I click on my org chart, really nicely, we see this here. Nice little links here that we can click to get to the information. So this is all available, right, when you purchase and we implement that core, and then you go into the learning. So that was just a little snippet here to get kind of your imagination running of how this software could solve all of your, maybe hurdles that you're having currently today, or maybe thinking, hey, we have HCM, maybe we have talent management, but we're looking to explore learn. So without further ado, Dave, I'll pass over presentation rights to you so you can gather on with your learning.
All right, thanks, Sarah. All right, folks, you should see my screen now. Since Sarah gave you a good tour of the navigation, I'm going to start right here at the learning screen. So if you were to log in, select your learning or my learning, you'll come in here and this is the page you'll see. You'll see you've got these half a dozen different boxes on this screen. Current learning is going to be anything that you currently have assigned to you as required training, recommended training, or voluntary training. Requested learning allows you to go in there. If you go in, if you've requested to participate in training, either internal or perhaps training that's outside of your organization or your learning management system, you can track those along through the requested learning. View transcript is exactly what it is. It's where you go in and see your training history. My learning communities. For people familiar with Taleo Learn, think of communities to being along the lines of the equivalents of being user groups. Same concept. Recommendations. If you go out, you can create training and then you can recommend it to your coworkers, whoever you want to within the organization, depending on how it's set up. And then you can go out and see where you've made recommendations and what you've made recommendations to. And then shared learning would be any tutorials, any videos or anything like that you may have authored or created within the system, and you can go in there and look at those systems or look at those trainings. So let's start, and we're going to look at the current learning. So when you come into that screen, you select current learning. This is going to show you everything. For the old users of Taleo Learn, if you remember in the early days with the classic page editor and the dynamic objects, oh my gosh, you had to build 2 or 3 different dynamic objects to show learning plans and assignments and enrollments. Everything shows up right here under this page. It labels as assignments. You have required training, so this particular course is required. You'll see this number of days in red. That's 82 days overdue. Simply come down here and launched it to make the course go. You can create these. What I do for clients is I'll go actually create it so I have a lot of continuity and consistency. The image that goes with the assignment, I create it in PowerPoint as a template. Say the template is a JPEG file, and that way I just update the title on those and gives it a nice continuity. Voluntary learning, anything that you have self-selected would show up here. This particular person, Matt, does not have anything showing up under there, so all he has currently, I take it back. Let's see, she's going to load up again. I went in there yesterday and volunteered for some training. Yep, it did keep it. This inspirational learning. So you'll see, you can come back in, you can pick up a resume, and you can go in there and relaunch that course. And again, that's voluntary, something that was self-selected. Required is something that's been assigned to me by a management or supervisor of the system. All right. So up here under actions, you have the ability to request non-catalog learning items. So let's say I wanted to go to, well, let's say a Microsoft engineering course or something like that. I could come up here, select that option. It'll open up, and then I'll fill out the form, and then I'll submit it. This form can be routed depending on how you implement it to various people for approval. And again, once you route that form, you have the ability to come back up here and track the requested learning. And again, that would show up here, anything that you've requested, anything you've gone out and asked for permission to participate in, you can come in here and check on the status of it. As we move on, we'll go over here and look at the transcript. This person doesn't have any training history at all here, but normally you would just see a listing of everything that's in here. Like Learn, you can go in there and launch those courses from here as well if you want to go in and reinitiate them. All right, learning communities. Learning communities, again, the people coming from Learn and user groups, they're almost identical. You can set these up to be dynamic. In some ways, they're a little bit easier to configure, and in some ways, they add some functionality and flexibility into that mix as you build them out. Learn, you're familiar with going in, you pick from the user data, maybe company or department, or includes department A, B, and C, excludes department D, E, and F, and you can set them up along that way. The nice thing with the communities in this environment, you're allowed to go in there and build an analysis or a report, if you will, and it becomes like that dynamic group for your learning or for your user groups in Learn. Your analysis, you can go in there and say, I want this, and this, and then build a filter on it, and it allows you to go in there and set all that up so that you can go in there and populate those communities accordingly. Whereas with Learn, you had that constraint of about 10 filters because you use a report or an analysis to build your communities here. You do not have that constraint of 10 filters. All right. If you wanted to go in here and build a community, it's simply as easy as coming in here and do create community. You can go ahead and brand it if you want to. If you've got an image you want to add, like I said, this is where I use the PowerPoint. So we'll just call this sample community. Like Learn, it prompts you with the asterisk to let you know that it's a required field. Now, when you build these communities, you have the ability to make them open, which means anybody can see it, join it, and participate in it. You can set up so closed so that it's pretty much by invitation only. People can see that it exists, but they can only participate if they've been invited into that community. And secret meaning that only members of the community even know that it exists. Okay. If you want to set it up with the community where community members can add learning items, you can enable that functionality. If you don't want that option available, you just simply hit disable and they won't use it. If you look across the top, you'll see you have an option for a trailer. Think of that like a movie trailer. The only difference between the branding image and the trailer is obviously the trailer is going to be a video, while this is going to be a static image, but you do have that option. So if you want to get fancy and come up with some kind of animation or video, you map it to this community. So we'll hit submit. All right. So now you'll notice we've got a little bit different window. We've got it defaults to assignment view, but let's go in here and look at membership for the community. So right now, because this Matt is the person that created it by default, it's going to make him the manager. But let's add all the Matt's employees to this group. So we simply come down here and we hit add. We're going to do add required member because these people work for this guy, so we're going to force them to be in it. And we're going to put and we'll do Matt's direct reports. It's just a note that we'll keep up with that. So we'll do next. And here's where I was talking about the options for adding users to the community. So you simply come in here. You can use the analysis report. You can select specific users by name. You can use an org chart, or you can use learner criteria. So let's go in and the report option I'm not going to get into a whole lot because that's going to be a whole lot deeper conversation than what we've got time for. But we'll start here with learners. And you'll see simply the screen comes up. I've got a Betty Anderson, so I'm just going to type in Anderson and search. And you'll see it comes up with a complete list of Andersons. So I'm going to add Betty to this group. I simply highlight it and hit select. You'll see I had other options to search by their employee ID number or by their department. So that's one way to add them, is one by one. That can be a little bit tedious, but you know how that goes. Sometimes it's best to build it. There's no real direct way of putting people in there without just picking them off of a list. So then we've got the organization chart. So in this scenario, what you do is you're going to go in there and search by the person's name. So this case, the person we're looking for is Matt Wagner. So we'll type Wagner and hit search. And you'll see we've got Matt Wagner's directs and then Matt Wagner's org. So where that comes into play, or that'll vary. Obviously, if you're a senior member and you look at the org, you're going to have a higher number than those people that report directly to you. This person happens to be a first level supervisor, so these numbers coincide. But if he was like a manager, then the org number might be, 50 or 25 or whatever is appropriate. So we just simply hit the number and hit OK. All right. So the other way that we can do this is we can do user learning criteria. So this one you can come down and base it off of job family, the employer, business unit, worker category, locations. You can basically come in here and build out the organization that you want to put into it. So this gives you a pretty good option for building this out, even going to the point where you do manager. Let's try, okay, so this is bringing up names right off the top. So let's pick this Karen Curtis, and we'll do preview. Never fails. You're always going to have something with an asterisk. So we'll do, now let's do US or the UK legal. And we'll do preview. Business unit. See if we got something like London in here. And you'll notice it kind of shows a little bit. Let's see if we got anything for business unit. Okay, nothing for London. Let's just try UK.
While Dave is doing this, I'll remind everyone that if you do have a question, you can use the question icon on your toolbar to ask any questions, and we answer them as they come in.
Okay. So you'll see by searching UK, we get the UK business, or we can do Ukraine. But last time I looked, that wasn't part of the UK. And then you just do preview. Okay. So apparently the search query that we set in there, it doesn't apply. But just know that you have the ability to go in here and set these up. With these demo sites from Oracle, it's kind of hard to keep up with what person's assigned to what entity in here. But it gives you an idea where you can come in here and build those out and build that query out the way you want to. So once we have the people mapped to it, we just simply do submit. Okay, so it comes back, says, hey, they've been added. It tells us we got 8 required members and 1 community manager for a total of 8. Now, from here, as the manager, you can go in there and create a catalog and associate it with this particular community. And what it does is it allows the users to come in here and bring in, or you could put in relevant courses for this particular um, community, and then you just go in here. So we'll just do like fire safety, how to speak effectively in crowds. That's going to be a instructor-led training. I'll take that. That's in 2019. And we'll take that. That's a self-paced class or an online. As well as this one. And then we simply do add. And then what this does is it'll make these courses available in this course catalog so users can come in here. Now, users will not have this remove option. It's simply, again, because I'm working or I'm logged in now as a manager, it gives me the ability to add or remove these courses. All right. If I want to, I could actually come in here and build or recommend training. I can edit the community. If I wanted to go out and request non-learning or non-catalog items, I can do that as well, again, as a supervisor. And now if I want to view this as a user, an end member, or I can hit view as member, and it's going to change my view slightly. So now this is all I see as an end user. I don't see that option to remove, but if I want to come in there and take it, I just simply hit view, and it gives me the ability to go in there and launch the course. You would there we go. And then it comes up, gives you the syllabus. Again, you can pick up these pictures and put them in the background. Gives you a nice start, and then we hit start learning. I think these are going to be open sesame. We hit start learning. Again, it gives you a summary. And if we hit view, it'll open up the course. And again, in this environment, it embeds the course into the actual page. So I'm going to just hit save and close because I don't want to waste our time looking at courses. So we get back, I'm just going to hit that back arrow, and my back arrow again, and it brings us back to the catalog. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to do manage community so I get back into my supervisor role. I have a few more options. And again, with permissions, you can set this up so that supervisors can go in there and create. They use the term tutorial. Anything you create with the internal course authoring tool, you'll hear the word tutorial. Okay, an assignment. If I wanted to create an assignment and give it to some members of the community, I just simply do create assignment. Let's take that online course. Where did it get to? We'll do fire safety. Okay, and then you'll see you come in here and you can specify the published start date, when it begins, who to assign it to, existing required members. So anybody who is a member who we set up as a required member of this community would automatically get it assigned, and we can define the due date. I'm going to give them to the end of February to complete this. And we also can set it up so that new people added to this community, if they're a required member, they too will get this assignment added to them. And because we change this topic out at the end of every year, I'm just going to go ahead and run it out to December 31st. So at the end of the year, this thing will quit assigning it to people, and then I can put and we hit submit. And it gives me a status right there. It says it's been assigned, tells me we've got incomplete users, how many people have completed it, and total assignments there are. Now, the other option you have from here, when you look at assignments, you can come in here and you can edit the assignment or you can manage users. So if you go in there and say, well, so-and-so completed it, you can withdraw the user. And again, this is based on your permissions as well. So this Hank Lowe will withdraw him to just simply, again, highlight the name, hit withdraw learner. Reason for withdrawal, again, these are drop down. We'll just say it's not relevant.
So Dave, we had a question come in, and the question is, can a person belong to multiple communities in learning?
Absolutely. Just like Learn, you can be a member of a multitude of communities.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. And one thing that if you worked with the courses in Learn, you know that it wasn't the easiest thing in the world to go in there and mark somebody as completed. Here, it's a lot easier. So we can simply come in here and select this person, this Christine Doyle. We're going to give her completion credit, so we do mark completed. And it comes up and prompts you and says, hey, you really want to do this? Come on, Betsy. I don't know why it didn't. I'm looking for another dialog box, but it's not popping up. All right. So let me back out of here and see if this is needing to refresh. Nope. It's just not going to let her do it. This person may not have the permissions to go in here. It might go through the motions, but it's just not going to give that person or this map the permission needed to do that, to mark it complete. And try it one more time. Nope. It just doesn't have the permissions to do it. So he can try till his mouse finger falls off, but he's not going to be able to go in there and do that. But again, that's controlled through permissions and profiles. Okay, so that's the communities function. The social piece of it, you can go in here and see how people rate different things or add comments about things. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. All right, so let's go back. We'll go back here to our communities. The view recommendations, again, that's anything where you've gone in there and recommended training to somebody. And in the shared learning, it was, again, anything that you publish as a tutorial. Let's see if we can, here's the tutorial piece. So if you wanted to create a tutorial as a supervisor, as an end user, again, it's all pretty straightforward. You add cover art, create a table of contents, and then it just builds you through the different steps and sections to go in there and create a course. So let's do add cover art. Let me find something. I'm going to use something I've been working on for another client because I can put my hands on it quick. We use that one. Oh, come on, Betsy. Drag it. It just wants to be drug over there. So I'm going to drag it off the screen so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. And you'll see it prompts you that it's done. And there it goes. That brings in your top. So if you want to add a table of contents, you can go and put that information in. If you want to add a new section, you select that option. And then you can go in there and add an image, add a web link, add a video file, pretty much whatever you want to do at this point. And then just continue on with it. And you build that out in chapters and sections, pretty much like you would if you were building out in the old course editing tool in Learn. I'm sorry. Okay. some functionality that we don't have to display in here that you'll want to know about. Anybody that I've implemented Learn for, you'll know I'm a major advocate of a function called learning plans. I like it in Learn for a lot of reasons. The functionality does exist in learning. It's called specializations. And what a specialization does is it allows you to compile a list of learning activities just like you could in a learning plan and then assign it to users. Specializations can be mapped to learning communities or specific users on an individual basis, just like they could in Learn through groups or individual mappings. Another function that you'll want to know about in Learn, you use skills, and more recently with the recurrent learning plans, you have the ability to set up recurrent training activities. In this product, you have that capability as well. It's called an initiative. An initiative basically allows you to go in there, set it up, create the training initiative, and then go in there and put the time constraints, the recurrency cycle with that learning activity. Those are the main things that come up off the top of my head on the comparison as far as the functionality. Again, just about anything and everything you can do with Learn, you can do with Learning, except for those specific items like e-signatures. Okay. Any questions? Anything anybody wants to see?
I don't see anything yet, but I'll remind people, Dave, to go ahead and ask their question using the question icon on their toolbar. I'm going to switch back and become the presenter just so we can wrap this up. Just a couple quick other slides that we can talk about, because I think one thing that people are going to ask is, hey, how long does it take to get implemented? Why would I do this? And we've kind of summed it up for you. 4 easy points. The major reasons why people are going to move to Learning Cloud is that it's very tightly integrated with Oracle HCM. So it alleviates that need for integration because it's all operating on the same database. And also is an end-to-end solution for your employees for learning, so they can guide their career development path, and it's tightly managed within talent management modules as well for HCM. And of course, because we all love reporting, there's easier report building in Learning Cloud, as well as some more robust report building features that many of our clients like. Also, it's mobile friendly. So if you have part of your employee population who are on the go, like I manage a sales team, for me, having my sales folks who would travel a lot be able to take their learning on the road with them is a wonderful asset of this tool. So let's talk a little bit about implementation. You know, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, Evosys absolutely does full implementations and advisory services. We do offer fixed price packages, much like we did back in the Newbury days. Packages start approximately $40,000. Takes as little as 12 weeks to get up and running. We also offer additional services, and you probably saw from Dave's background earlier in the presentation, we can do things, you know, observational assessment checklist. We can go ahead and do surveys and SCORM and AICC format assessments, content conversion. Oftentimes, you will see our clients have a certain way they've done things. Maybe if they were using Taleo Learn, all of those things have to be mapped over, and we absolutely can help you, guide you down a path on how to go ahead and make that transition over to Learning Cloud easily. So those are part of our service offerings that we offer as well. And I think I just see another question pop in. Let's take a look here. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead and you know, please use the question icon on your toolbar. We'll take that as well. Take those questions as they come in. Dave, what is the one thing that you would say, and I'm kind of putting Dave on the spot here, if you were thinking about making a conversion from another LMS platform, and we're starting to have a conversation about the learning platform, are you primarily looking at a client's what training they're offering and being able to to get that content over, or are you thinking more about process?
Honestly, I start at requirements. Even though this is, it's still an Oracle product, just like Taleo Learn was, you need to treat this as a migration to a completely new learning management system, because in essence it is. And I would tell you your highest priority would be to sit down, build out a needs analysis or identify or a requirements document where you specify exactly the functionality that you need this product or this learning management system to provide your organization. So if you need e-signatures, you know that if you look at this, you go, well, now's not the time. It's coming, but now's not the time. Or if you need a certain, if you need the recurrent learning capability where you can go in there and have renewals or auto renewal assignments, then you're okay. But make sure you have that laid out. That's probably one of the biggest things. It causes a lot of frustration from the client side because they get in there and go, well, we thought. Well, yeah, but thinking and doing are two different things. Or make sure if you've got something that you're not sure, make sure you have a demo of the product and have them show you how it performs that functionality. You get in there and let's say you do instructor-led training and you need this function or that function, make sure that you can perform that task with this learning management system just like you can or the way that you need to perform. Maybe you want to use some kind of barcode reader, or maybe you want to upload stuff remotely or training records or stuff like that. Ask those questions, build it out. Don't assume anything. Treat this like it's a brand new learning management system that you're going out to acquire, and look at those specifications and requirements. Again, this is a new product for all practical purposes. It's evolving by leaps and bounds every time they have a new release. Man, I've got to get in and read through 50, 60 pages of release documents just to keep up with all the changes they're making to this thing. So if it doesn't do it today, don't get discouraged, because next week, next month, next release, that functionality may exist that you're looking for.
That's a good point, Dave. I think that's really helpful. I think as we're approaching the top of the hour here, the one thing I want to remind everyone on the line is we're actually going to be doing monthly webcasts to do deep dives into HCM modules. So next month, the lovely Miss Sarah will be walking you through talent management. That's going to be in February, so be watching your inboxes for those invitations. If you would like us to re-watch this webcast, please reach out to me directly. I know you all have my email now. I'm happy to send you a link to the broadcast as well. And with that, I'd like to thank Sarah and Dave for guiding us through the HCM and Learning Cloud platform today. We appreciate it. And of course, we appreciate your time today. We thank you for coming, and we're happy to help you guide you through next steps in adopting some more cloud functionality. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great afternoon. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Sarah.
Sure, Bonnie. Thank you.